Money issues can be a silent killer of relationships. It is cited by some studies that 1 in 3 marriages split up because of financial issues. And these are just not spoken about. Now, in this video, I really want to dive into understanding what these can be and how we can move beyond these to make some changes and also create lasting relationships. My name is Mar Horseler. I'm a money mentor and financial coach, and I've been working with thousands across the world to look at their relationships with money and also build financial futures that are aligned with their lives and bring financial peace of mind. A lot of things stem through our relationship to money, yet we do not allow ourselves to dive into it to understand what is going on behind it. And in relationships, oftentimes this comes because two parties are meeting at completely different stages of their money stories or completely different ways that they relate to money. And now this can cause a lot of uncertainty, a lot of rife, a lot of friction between the two people because we are set out on one path together. Now, the 3 main things I've seen in couples I've worked with when it comes to money issues are that either one person is overspending. Now, I had one couple where the wife had debts that the husband didn't even know about because she was spending on things and she was hiding this away. So when that came out, it became a huge rife in the relationship. Another one is that, for example, the other one is acting completely differently for money from the two. So you have completely different relationships. One of them is into numbers, the other one doesn't want to look at it at all, is avoiding it. We all have different ways we relate to money. And one of them is that it's not even spoken about, that there's denial around it. So that maybe one person's taking care of the finances, the other one wants nothing to do with it. And unfortunately, oftentimes this has to do with women, where, for example, they want to deny it or have different expectations from what the men are willing or able to give. All of this, not to blame one or the other here, is to put you on the table, right? To put all of this out, to lift up the rug and to look at what is going on here. So what I want to do here is really for you to understand as a couple, number one, what is your money story? Where are you coming from? Because oftentimes what happens is that the completely different relationship comes when two different people are looking at it from different ways. And that's when power dynamics come in. And oftentimes with the issues I've seen in relationships are power dynamics between the man and the woman, generally because one person is earning more. It doesn't always have to be the man. I've worked with couples as well where the woman has inherited a lot more and the husband didn't come with anything to the relationship. But that same power dynamic plays out because one person is the one with the money having the final say in the relationship versus the other one. Now, I'm not saying it always has to be like this, but oftentimes we default into these old patterns. Unless we've really learned and consciously transformed it, we end up playing out games that our parents have played out, that society plays out, but we don't know otherwise. Oftentimes we default to these because we don't have other role models for other ways we can relate to money or have seen others relate to money that can really help us move forward. Now, what I really want to bring to the table here is how can we bring this topic up? And the most neutral and first place I always say to my clients is a money date, is having a conversation about money, is really bringing the topics to the table. Oftentimes it brings screaming, tension, victimization, all these kind of topics come in, power dynamics, one is stronger than the other. So I always tell my clients, bring this out of the house. At least out of your bedroom. If you can't bring it out of the house, please don't do it in bed because that brings the energy into the room that you're sleeping in and resting in together. So it can be over a meal, it can be on a walk, it could be in a hotel lobby, somewhere completely different. Getting yourself out and having those difficult conversations are the first step. Acknowledging that this exists. Bringing both of your feelings to the table. And then oftentimes the next step is looking at this together. Numbers don't lie. Numbers are the concrete thing that exists in life. And oftentimes there's one person in the relationship who's avoiding this or doesn't necessarily want to look at it. And we have to. This is a baseline for me to look at what are we spending, what is coming in, what's the reality, especially if you are, for example, raising a family together, if you are building plans together into the future. Oftentimes there's one person in the relationship who's holding that stronger than the other, which then means that one is carrying the other energetically in this. So coming out and saying, what are our numbers? What's our budget? How much do we spend every month? What does this look like flat out? Now, you can also do this in 2 ways, saying what's the minimum we can spend, and then what is the next level on that? What is the next frame of what we can spend, and then work to that together. Now, also what's really important to take into consideration once you have this is the health of both people in this, is the emotional part within this, is the safety within this. For example, if one of the couple is earning more, how can that equilibrate between the two? So how can that really allow the other person to feel like they're also taking part in it? And it doesn't have to be like one is ruling the other. So oftentimes what's happened in relationships I've worked with clients is one couple, for example, they had a really lovely way where the husband was making a lot more, and he hired the wife in his company and was paying her monthly salary that was just for her. And then they opened up a joint account where they both paid into it, equivalent to the means of that they were making. So both of them were participating for their common expenses. Oftentimes one can carry more than the other, but it's really important to discuss this. And many women that I've worked with who wanted nothing to do with their finances, had a lot of rifts in their relationship, brought the spreadsheet, showed the husband, for example, the monthly expenses, and it changed the picture because oftentimes they don't understand what the costs at home are, how it is. And more than that, it showed the responsibility on her side. And the husband was willing and open to give more. I think what it comes down to often is the energetics, the responsibility. We don't all have to bring the same to the table financially. And finances are not the only measure of value. There's so many other ways to do this. So one person can bring more energy to the family, the other one can bring the financial means. This was split up in society completely differently. Now that things are moving, it's really important to consider what it looks like for you and what is something that really works in your relationship. Some examples could be that you're both paying into a joint account, different amounts, let's say because you're earning differently. We want to save X amount or invest X amount for ourselves, and the rest of it can be put in, and looking at how much you're both making and the rest going into the family. It can be one person paying in and the other one, living with that, but having a joint view on it, a joint discussion on your finances, what this can look like. And I always tell all of my clients, there's not one way or the other that's right or wrong. You need to find the one that works for you, your family, and your couple. Before I close, what I really want to leave you with is that transparency can be key in this. Transparency of speaking about your finances, transparency about getting on the same page together, especially as a couple, so really understanding what is going on. You don't have to reveal everything, but making both parties feel safe and understood in that. Because oftentimes one party feels like they're carrying more than the other. Really putting everything out on the table, talking about debts, talking about the way you're managing money, talking about what this looks like and your future together. The other one is really keeping both of you safe in the relationship into your financial future. To know that both of you are taken care of no matter what happens in the relationship, that doesn't cause a dependency. That one person is staying just because of the finances, are overcompensating, because that comes out in completely different ways later on. So I've seen in couples where one compensates and then starts arguing or really getting angry at the other because they feel trapped in a certain situation. So I think it's really, really important also to have that clearly out on the table for both of you and for your futures. And finally, the one I love to leave you with is that make sure that one in the relationship is not missing out financially in the long term. Really looking at that one person is not investing everything in the assets and the other one is spending everything for the relationship, because that also causes a drain for one of the couples in the longer term in the relationship that then can cause issues. So I really want to make sure that you're both on the same page, that you're both feeling comfortable and both aware of your financial future, no matter how much education you've had, if it's a man or a woman, whatever else it might be. If one person has more than the other, it doesn't have to be equal, but we both need to make sure that the emotional, the financial parts are taken care of, because you are walking on the same path together. And what I want to leave you with is that I've often seen in relationships, when you have a purpose, when you have a project together, when you're walking in the same direction, it can change everything, because that can make you have a common goal and start speaking the same language. Now, as recently speaking to a client of mine, we were exactly discussing these topics. And there's also positive stories that I want to talk about here. Men who are really showing up, or women as well, who are really taking care of their partners, honoring one of them, that the wife is at home, so he's really often transferring assets or money into her name to really make sure that that equilibrates and they don't have this power dynamic in their relationship. So please have a conversation about it. Please open up. You are not alone in this. There are so many couples out there who are going through this. More and more have been reaching out to me, and know that this is something that you can bring on the table. And the most important is to have awareness and to speak about it so it doesn't become a problem, and that we can solve it before it causes any rift or separation between you and your partner. So I hope this inspires you in some way, because I really wish that these topics around money can be discussed more openly, especially in relationships, that we can find the same footing, even if we come from different stories, different backgrounds, different ways of relating to money, to walk a path together in a couple to then have a future that serves you both. Really feeling safe, secure in the relationship, and can make a joint path together going forward. I hope this inspires you. If it does at all, please like this channel, follow the video, share it. I have some resources below if any of this can interest you, some free things that you can click on, start working with, and I hope to see you very soon.